Top 10 Creative Ways Someone Has Committed Murder. Welcome back to Creepshow, your go-to channel for all things creepy, bizarre, and downright unsettling. Today, we're diving into the darkest corners of human imagination as we explore the top 10 most creative ways people have committed murder. From bizarre medieval torture methods to deadly modern-day spy gadgets, these stories will make you rethink what it means to get away with murder. So, if you're ready to be both fascinated and horrified, make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell, and let's get into it. Number 10. Leg of lamb. You might not think of beating your spouse to death with a frozen leg of lamb, but anything will do when the right moment presents itself. This peculiar strategy is employed by Mary, a character in Roald Dahl's short story, Lamb to the Slaughter. Something in Mary breaks as her husband breaks the news to her that he's leaving. He's going out instead of having her prepare dinner, on top of the fact that he's divorcing her. Enough justification to swat the frozen lamb leg at the back of his head. Surely. Oh, Mary promptly disposed of the murder weapon, cooking it as any dinner murderer would, after emerging from shock. Later, she called the police as if she had just discovered her husband dead after stopping by the grocery store to acquire potatoes, veggies, and cheesecake for his dinner. The police search for a murder weapon as soon as they get there, but they are unable to find one. They had no idea that what Mary is feeding them for supper is the very weapon they are searching for. Number 9. The potted plant plot. Another fictitious murder technique is the use of a plant pot by the gardener to kill the previous farmhouse owner in Dorothy L. Sayers' Busman's Honeymoon. While on their honeymoon at the home, Harriet and Lord Peter Wimsey, who recently got married, find Noakes's body. A warm and welcome gift. Like any sensible honeymooning couple, the Wimseys set out to solve the crime. As it turned out, not many people were concerned about Noakes, including a resentful gardener who was vying for the estate's funds. In order to do so, the gardener, Crutchley, intended to marry Noakes's niece and kill him in the process. Crutchley placed a plant pot on a chain that was weighted as a booby trap for Noakes. Noakes killed the man by setting off the booby trap with the radio cabinet. Crutchley's happily ever after with his money suffers as a result. Rather, a judge condemns him to hanging death. Peter decides this is the last time he would look into murders because he is so consumed with remorse about being the reason behind Crutchley's demise. Number 8. The umbrella murder. Georgy Markov, a Bulgarian dissident, was stabbed in the thigh on September 7, 1978, by an unidentified assailant using an umbrella tainted with the poison ricin. On his way to wrapping up his duties for the BBC's Bulgarian service, Markov was waiting for a bus at the Waterloo Bridge. He went back to his South London house after the event and became unwell with a fever. He passed away after 4 days. Upon autopsy, a little ricin capsule was discovered in his thigh. Although no one was ever prosecuted for the murder, Markov told physicians he believed the KGB was involved. A naturally occurring poison found in castor beans is ricin. It is extremely poisonous and prevents cells from making the necessary proteins for bodily functions. Although the poison is most effective when injected into the body, the murderer may have put it into Markov's tea, with an umbrella in this case. This was not the first time this technique had been attempted murder. Vladimir Kostov, a Bulgarian defector, was attacked in a Paris subway station 10 days before to Markov's passing. The umbrella murder was successfully attempted again in 2012, although this time the poison used was mercury rather than ricin. Number 7. Where's my pumpernickel? In Dahl's fiction, Mary may have killed herself with her leg of lamb, but in real life, people use stale pumpernickel bread. Reginald Himesley Doddingdale was killed in 1988 with a pumpernickel roll that had an anvil-hard consistency. The hard texture of the bread combined with the bump on Reginald's back seemed to do the trick. Unfortunately, the bread was abandoned by the murderer. Their escape was terribly inadequate, even though the murder itself was inventive. Number 6. The Murder Castle. H. Holmes, one of the first serial killers in American history, employed a clever murder-long game. Holmes began working at a pharmacy in Chicago, Illinois in 1885. We believe he killed the pharmacy's prior owner. Holmes had a 3-story structure nearby built that has come to be known as the Murder Castle. It had living quarters, torture rooms, and trap doors and chutes to drop bodies into the basement's kiln so that his victims' bodies would burn. Holmes used the 1893 Columbian Exposition as an occasion to welcome guests to his murder castle. Regretfully, a large number of visitors perished. He first lured and stole from women, who he eventually tortured and killed. These were the majority of his victims. Frequently, he would court them first and then make employment promises to them. Eventually, authorities apprehended Holmes utilizing a dead body in an insurance fraud. In 1896, he was executed by hanging in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. On his farm, the remains of roughly 200 persons were discovered by police and officials. Number 5. St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Mob gangsters from the 1920s weren't always the most inventive murderers, but occasionally their cunning wins them the prize for originality. To remove his adversary, George Bugs Moran, Al Capone orchestrated the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. 4 of Capone's men met in Moran's warehouse on February 14, 1929, where he was operating an illicit liquor distribution business. Capone persuaded Moran that he needed assistance with a Canadian bootlegging operation. Capone's men were met by 6 of Moran's men, 2 of whom were mechanics. The last of Moran's men, 2 police officers, forced Albert Weinshank inside the warehouse when he arrived. However, the police officers were actually 2 of Capone's men under disguise. With their backs to the officers, Moran's men were positioned against the wall, believing that they were going to be arrested. 6 of Capone's men were instantly slain, as 2 more of his men entered the room with submachine guns. Later, one bled to death on a hospital bed. The primary target, Moran, was never killed, and Capone was never formally accused of carrying out the killing. Number 4. Who invited the bear? During the 30-Year War in Switzerland, Jörg Jenach was a preacher who turned politician. He was killed in a Chur hostel in 1639. But this was no typical murder. Someone disguised as a bear led a group of people into the Jenach party during a celebration of his recent knighthood. The bear then killed him with a hacksaw. The very axe that Jenach used to murder Pompeius von Planta, his adversary, belonged to him. As one thing goes, so does another. Wearing a bear costume. Number 3. Rasputin's cake. Murders aren't always inventive because they weren't supposed to be, but rather because things don't always work out the way they're supposed to. This was true in 1916 when Russian mystic and holy man Grigory Rasputin was assassinated. Rasputin was led to Prince Felix Yusupov's mansion in St. Petersburg by 2 men, Prince Yusupov and Vladimir Purishkevich. Legend has it that one of the men gave Rasputin a slice of poisoned cake there. He was unaffected by it. Then they made an attempt to gun him. The first rounds that were aimed at his head and body failed. To eventually kill him, they had to shoot 4 more times. Another myth has it that in order to finish the job, they had to drown him in a frozen lake. A gunshot wound to the stomach is listed as the official cause of death. Number 2. A pack of cigarettes. Even though this attempt at murder was unsuccessful, it makes use of what may be the most inventive weaponry to accomplish its goal. Georgy Okolovich was the leader of an anti-communist organization in Russia who was exiled and living in West Germany at the time. When KGB operative Nikolai Koklov knocked on his house, he informed Okolovich that he was come to kill him and that he was from Moscow. Rather than putting him to death, he defected to America. The weapon he was meant to employ was a silent gun that worked electrically and was cloaked as a pack of cigarettes. Cyanide rounds were fired by it. The KGB ordered his killing as retaliation for failing to kill Okolovich and defecting to the United States. German physicians used antidotes to flush out Koklov's system after he was poisoned with thallium, a soft metal that is similar to rat and ant poison. Koklov lived. Number 1. Hot rats. Rat torture is among the horrifying torture apparatuses and death techniques associated with the Middle Ages. William the Silent's supporter Diedrich Sonoy used torture on rats in one of the earliest recorded cases. He stacked a ceramic dish full of rats on top of a prisoner's nude body. The dish was heated by hot charcoals, and the rats tried to break out by chewing their way through the prisoner's intestines. Imaginative and awful. These are only 10 of the horrific ways that people have thought of to murder someone else. We sincerely hope you will choose to channel your creativity into more useful endeavors, such as Lego construction or songwriting, not homicide. Thanks for tuning in to this spine-chilling episode of Creepshow. If you enjoyed these macabre tales of creative murder, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your fellow horror enthusiasts. Drop a comment below on which method you found the most shocking, or if you know of any others that should be on our list. And remember, we upload new content every week, so make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on to never miss out on the next dark story. Until next time, stay curious and stay creepy.